Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are joining us in the world. We are so happy to have you here on USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. Today's show is the business talk show, and we have a little bit of a surprise for you today. Mr. Al Cini, who is the co-host of this show, is actually a guest today. He and two of his partners have created something amazing and fantastic for business owners and entrepreneurs everywhere. Let's welcome Mr. Al Cini to the show, and then we'll bring out our additional guests. Hello, Mr. Cini.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. That was a very gracious introduction, and it's great to be here as a co-host or as a guest.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see you, Al. And as you know, I have a special place in my heart for you because you've been with me throughout this entire journey and this metamorphosis from rapping with Dr. JACALYN to USA Global TV and Radio. And while we've been morphing and changing, so have you. You've been growing and adding to your portfolio of incredible value and offerings to your clients and to the whole world in general. So tell us what you're up to.
Well, if you remember that commercial, you got peanut butter in my chocolate. No, you got chocolate in my peanut butter.
Yes.
Here's what we've learned. We have two solutions that we've been working on separately that actually are really terrific partner solutions. Lisa's been developing over many years something called Presence Intelligence, which is essentially a coaching platform. And you know, because I've said it a couple hundred times, I think, on the Business Talk Show, that Mark and I have been working on the Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit. So let's imagine it this way. The Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit helps a team find its heart, and Presence Intelligence helps a team find its brain. When we bring Lisa out, she can correct me in that. But that's the way I see it. I mean, in order for a team to be successful, they need to know what their heart and soul is. What is it that drives them and propels them? What is the core, the center of their aspirations? And they also need to know how to bring that to life in very specific ways, like what does that role model wear, and how does that role model write emails, and how does that role model select friends? And that's Lisa's contribution. And what we found is when we put these two solutions together, because they both work so well, we can do this in 4 hours, which is pretty amazing for most people, because usually this is something you consult with somebody for 3 or 4 months on, and usually don't get anywhere, but we can get you where you need to get in 4 hours. It's designed to fit inside of an offsite meeting or a Zoom meeting, and it can be delivered virtually or in person. That's ProFit.
ProFit. That, and you know what? I know if you put the letters together, it's profit.
It is, and that, Lisa is the mastermind behind formulating that, and this is a great time to bring her out because I think she can explain what the letters in pro mean. They're very significant. So,
all right, Lisa Manioki, she also is a co-host here on our platform. We had so many great times and laughs together on the dating show. Let's bring her out. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Welcome.
Hi, Lisa.
Good to see you. So, Lisa, you are somebody who's incredibly talented and gifted in many, many ways. And I know just you and Al and Mark working together, this is something so special. And the fact that it takes 4 hours, not 4 months or 4 lifetimes, is really genius. So tell us about your role in this, in ProFit.
Well, as Al said, BCAT is Brand and Culture Alignment Toolkit. So the BCAT experience considers individuals within the context of a group and an organization. Presence intelligence is really independent of anybody else except yourself. So the goal of presence intelligence is to look within and find out who you are, by shutting out the noise of other people's opinions or judgments or recommendations. Add that to a group, and then we have a new blend. So presence intelligence is really the beginning of a spectrum of performance within an organization by being who you are and all of who you are with respect to the goals of the organization. So they work really well together, and rather than market them as two different entities, we realize that they really are on a spectrum, and ProFit is the product of the two. It's a really perfect blend. Any organization's bottom line is a priority. They want to profit, whether that's profit is defined as impact or revenue, and revenue is typically essential. But profit doesn't drive every individual or every company. So we determined that for an organization to function at its very best, there are three buckets that need to be full, intact, and not at all leaky. And the one is the people part. The second is the role part. And the third is the organizational structure. So if there's a problem, it's typically a problem with the people, what they do and how their jobs are structured, and the organization itself, whether that's policy, procedure, or environment. And so there's the pro piece, the originators of the pro part. But the fit part is that for any organization or any person to feel where they belong, they need to fit. So people need to fit the role. The role needs to fit the people. The role needs to fit the organization. The organization needs to fit backwards, the role. So there's this very multi-layer meaning to the word. We are pro fit. We recommend that we make moves that generate profit. But the bottom line of it, the core, is that fit is essential for an individual to belong well within their team, within their sense of self, and within that organization. And there is ProFit.
That's ProFit. That's perfect. Really. I thought that was,
Perfect,
Mark,
exactly.
Mark has been among us. Mark has been waiting for this. I mean, what Mark is really needed, and what we know our customers want, is something that they can apply rapidly and effectively.
Yeah.
Not something that is the beginning of a long, protracted consulting engagement, but something they could use immediately and very effectively in a finite, small period of time. And so Mark's the guy that's going to carry us over the hill. And I know he's only got about half an hour. He's got to head out at 12:30, but maybe we can hear from him on why he thinks this is so significant.
Welcome to the show, Mark, the executor.
Hi, Mark.
Thanks, Dr. Jacqueline. How are you? Hello,
I'm doing well,
Sergeant
thank you.
Pepper. How are you today?
Oh, we're fine.
Yeah, Lisa and I have a little inside joke on morning coffee this morning. She's got her Sergeant Pepper shirt on. So.
This is my Sergeant Pepper. It's like the brocade jackets. I feel like Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Well, it's a good color. Looks nice on you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So, Al, thanks for that intro. I think, yeah, you're right. It's this is all about teamwork, right? This is all about getting people together to work in a more collaborative way. And a lot of times when we pitch the whole BCAT model, BCAT it's a long selling cycle, and it's a long commitment. Presence intelligence is a long selling cycle, and it requires a fairly long commitment as well, because you're getting into the personality and the characteristics of each person. What we found is that a lot of times when we get to the end point with BCAT, where people are making a personal alignment plan commitment to changing things behaviorally in their lives, we don't really know what's going on in their lives. We don't know if they're having financial problems, marital problems, stressful issues with their health, or whatever it might be, that prevent them from doing the things that we need them to do to work together in a much more collaborative fashion, on an ongoing basis. We're not going to abandon presence intelligence or BCAT, but the ProFit idea is, in a 4-hour session, a workshop, we are going to present to a team of 10 or more or less, depending on the size of the company, a specific game plan to get everyone to work together in a much more collaborative way, and give them the tools that they can use collectively to do that. Now, once we're finished, they have the tools to implement those that process themselves, unless of course they need help, and then they'll call us back in. But the whole 4-hour session is comprehensive. It is it's more than a B12 shot. This is not just coming in and injecting the team with, rah-rah, let's get behind the leader kind of a thing. These are really practical and psychological ways that people can work together for a common purpose that most organizations are lacking. So that's kind of, to me, it's a lot easier sell. Our goal for next year is to sell 100 of these, 2 a week, which we can easily do. And, as Al said, my goal is to, I'm out there. I'm the business development guy. I've got Al and Lisa behind me as the support team. So, Dr. JACALYN, I am excited about ProFit. It's a great opportunity for organizations to latch onto a comprehensive program to get their team to work together.
Great way to put it, Mark. And
yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Voice of the customer is so important, and that that's why it's so much fun working with Mark. He listens to people. He's going to become an elevated listener. I know that, which is
he is
what you do.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's going to become
right here on the Dr. JACALYN show. I'm telling you, I am joining.
But listening to customers when they tell you what they need is kind of a lost art. I mean, really, nobody does that much anymore. And Mark is really a master at it. And what we're doing here is trying to build something that we really are hearing our customers ask for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So inquiring minds want to know, who is it, Mark, that you're going to be connecting with? Is HR executives, marketing, C-level?
Well, it's an interesting question, because a lot of it is the leader of a team or an organization or a department inside a larger organization, or it could be the C-level executive for an entire company if they're not that large. So the problem with a solution like ours, Dr. JACALYN, is that honestly, it can be sold to everyone. If you ask, 100 companies the question, are you all rowing in the same direction? Is everyone singing from the same sheet of music? Intellectually, they're going to say, not really. I need help. The next step is, do they believe that they need to do it? Which, is a little bit less than 100%. And then are they willing to implement it? So it could be anyone. Now, for us, what Lisa, Al, and I have to do is we have to sit down and figure out what is our best path to success early on in this process, because selling to everyone means you're selling to no one, right? So if we can't afford that, we're going to have to select. And our first conversation last week in our strategy session, and I'll reveal this to our audience, is that we thought about advertising agencies and marketing agencies as well, because a lot of times the traffic department is not communicating clearly with the creative department. The creative department's not communicating with the account management team. So there's a breakdown in communication. And one of the beauties of where we are with ProFit is that there are certain things that occur within an organization on a fairly regular basis. Like, is there some toxic management that can kill your team? Is there goal confusion? Are there communication gaps? So if we can start to find organizations that answer that question in the affirmative, they're a prospect. But we want to start out with a specific segment of the population. Otherwise, we're going to be selling to the planet.
Everywhere. That's,
yeah.
I for people watching and for people who know you, Dr. JACALYN, when I described ProFit, one of the first things you thought was that this could really work for USA Global TV. And not because USA Global TV is broken or because USA Global TV has something wrong with it, but because every leader of every business, certainly leaders of every team, know that there's a level above where they're currently operating that they could strive for. That's the aspirational nature of our solution, the ProFit solution. We hook into the fact that people are always dreaming of that next step they can achieve if they just can visualize it and work toward it. And so we're doing one now for USA Global TV. And I think when we get together after that's finished, you'll have an opportunity to tell everybody the kind of effect it had and how people reacted to it. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's so funny, Al, you actually read my mind. I was going to share that we have 39 team members here. And just to be quite honest, and I love you team members, wherever you are, it's very hard to get their attention. It's hard to get them to even fill out a survey or respond to an email that says urgent, reply needed. So I'm sure that people are interested in contributing to this platform, for example. So as the leader, I'm interested in finding out what is it that we can do together? Where is it that we can all start rowing in the same direction? So it is one big, not even big, but one cohesive team of people who want the same things.
And that desire, by the way, is what makes you a leader rather than a manager. It's the holy grail of managing a team isn't to get the team to do what you want them to do. It's to get the team to do the right thing. And your challenge as a leader is to articulate the right thing in a way that anybody can understand and anybody can visualize, whether they're a PhD or whether they dropped out of high school, whether they drive trucks or whether they operate on people. People are people, and everybody wants something more. We know that because of the Great Resignation. And we believe we're delivering something the market's been asking for, actually begging for.
And if you could walk us through, what do those 4 hours look like without giving specifics? But here we are, we're ready to go. What happens?
Okay, Lisa. And any of us can do it, but each of us has kind of a different way of looking at it. I think I want to put a slide up, if that's okay with you.
Please.
Okay, so let me go ahead and share, hopefully.
Mr. Cini is the only other person in the world who has administrative rights to this platform, and he could run all of the shows himself. I could take a vacation for a month.
I promise I won't abuse that power. With great power comes great responsibility.
I wouldn't even think twice about it.
I want to make sure I get this right.
Al, as you're doing that, I'm just going to ask Dr. JACALYN for a second. When we last week we were talking about sports teams, and I sent Lisa and Al a clip from not Lou Saban, but Nick Saban, and he's the coach at Alabama, one of the winningest collegiate football coaches in the country, and he talked about the fact that people that are mediocre do not like people who are high achievers, and high achievers do not like people who are mediocre. And so unless you have a collective feel for the purpose of your organization, you're going to have natural strife within your organization, because you will naturally have people in the company or on your team that are the high achievers and the people that just come in and metaphorically punch a clock. So, that video is powerful. So my point is that we have, ProFit can be used in any organization, including the sports world.
Oh, for sure. It doesn't matter what the mission is. And it all comes down to identifying the role model, I think. I think we've all agreed, the role model that represents a team's best self on its best day. So Lisa, maybe you can talk about the 5 personality types that we've identified.
Yeah. Now, historically, I have been very anti-archetype. I don't like typecasting people into very specific roles, because in many assessment type initiatives, there's little fine type that says all of this may not be relevant to you, which makes those types of endeavors nothing short of a horoscope in the newspaper. So I've been reluctant to do that. However, when we look back in psychology and general categories of behavior and personality, there are some patterns that repeat themselves. And so based on Al's research, my longtime immersion in coaching, and history itself, we've really culled down that there are about 5 different patterns of behavior that can be assigned a title. So they're not fixed. They're just general guideposts. The creator is the individual who's thinking and innovative and crafting new ideas and looking at life and business from a different perspective. The expert is the researcher who wants to compile facts and prove that the concept is sound and give credibility to an initiative. The caretaker is the one who keeps everybody level and has respect for the rules in an organization and the cohesiveness of the group. That's the person who's going to give you a pat on the back or a hug if you need it. Yet, intervene when there's dissension. That's very reliable. The connector would be the individual says, we're going to make this happen. So I'm going to find the right people and I'm going to connect the dots of where we need to show up, and I'll see to it that we're there. And then the driver, which in the case of the three of us would be our Mark, he's the one that says, I'm going to find you, and it's going to get done because we have a deadline, we have some goals to achieve, and together, by drawing from all of our best resources, we're going to make this happen. So between this blend of behavior, personality, predispositions, we can then make things happen, whatever that thing is. So for a company, once they've identified their goals, then by drawing upon these patterns within a team that each individual possesses, they can accomplish whatever it is they're setting out to do.
That's really the power of it. And, for any given team, it's not like a team is just one of these. Every team we've ever worked with, and we've worked with plenty, has been a combination of all five, but in a particular order. Their nursing organizations and nurses teams might have a lot more caretaker in them. Creative agency might have a whole lot more creator in it. A police department, we've done a few of those, might have a lot more driver in it. But they want to back those things up with elements that moderate and improve that. So police department might start out as primarily law enforcement driver, but their second value system, the second dimension of their collective role model could be caretaker. How do I serve the public? How do I take care of the people that are part of my community? And that next level of, I don't want to say competence because it's more amazing than that. I mean, everybody wants to be more competent, definitely, and competence is certainly a goal. But the real goal is aspiration. Everybody wants to live a dream where that dream represents them doing their best work on their best day. And we use these 5 elements to bring that whole idea of what's your dream for you and your organization to life.
And every team needs all of these. So a creator can create, but without credibility, it's art, it's subjective. An expert would bring credibility. A connector can meet lots of people and talk, and not get anything done. So on a team, if one part of this pie is missing, some part of their initiative is going to either take a longer time to happen, might not even happen. There might be friction while it's occurring. It's not going to be as smooth a process to get to whatever goal it is they've set. They all need to be there in some way, shape, or form, and in different degrees, depending on the initiative.
Lisa, as you were sharing the descriptions of the 5, I was thinking to myself, I'm that. I'm that. And as a business owner, but I'm not those 5 all the time. And what I'm wondering is during these workshops, could it possibly become apparent that a person has the title of a specific role and yet they're actually more aligned with another area than the area that they're in? Or maybe people realize I was not even tapping into the expert part that I have, and now I can bring that to the organization.
That's right. So see, most people who join an organization either send in a resume or they respond to a job posting that has very specific tasks that are outlined, but they don't necessarily list some of those hidden talents that person might be able to contribute to the team. So this is an opportunity as a group to say, hey, listen, here's our goal. Even though you weren't hired to do this, would you like to contribute this thing that you do so well, or this belief that you have, so that we can execute? So it's an opportunity to look outside a job description that was drafted by some HR department, and not to say that it's good, bad, or indifferent. It just might not be enough or relevant to that individual. So this gives the group an opportunity to look beyond what they were hired to do, to say, hey, listen, I have special skills here. I have some gifts. It's going to amplify the result that we seek. It's going to accelerate it. So let's use it. And then it's all in support of a common goal, which is wonderful.
Yeah, That was such a
I
great
just
question.
envision it. Thanks. I just envision the team members, their eyes opening, going, wow, I can contribute something else that really is relevant to me. This is a great motivation for people.
Sure.
And because what made that question such a great question is that if we don't sell this, this is not what we sell. This is something we facilitate. So the role model that represents a team comes from the team, not from us. We walk them through a series of simple exercises that get them thinking along these 5 lines. And the result of it includes everybody. So a point we like to make is we don't care whether you started with that team yesterday or you've been there for 25 years. We don't care if you're a senior person who's been there from the beginning, or the owner, or the person who answers the phones and mops the floors. We get wisdom at every level of a company from everybody who participates. And we open the door to everybody to participate.
Dr. JACALYN, I just wanted to try, maybe this is crystal clear in everyone's mind, but for the audience, these 5 elements are really, what they do is help align the team and orient the team around 1, 2, or 3 of these elements. These are not about the individuals. This is about the team the team avatar. So as you build this team, if you are a creative organization or you're a creative department, there are attributes that relate specifically to how we behave as an outside the box transformational creative thinking team, right? So if I am typically or traditionally a person who is data driven, but I'm on a creative team, what I need to do is try to dial up a little bit of my creativity as I approach the team during the day. So the 2 or 3 things that I might be able to change to help the team become more creative as a group might be that I might be a little bit more open-minded about ideas that come to the table, right? So I am trying as best I can to change some of my little micro behaviors toward the North Star of this team or this department or the organization. These 5 factors here that you're looking at are not about the individual, they're about the team. It's a whole different mindset when it comes to that incorporating question. Imagine your entire team or your organization as though it were a single person.
And the answer you get back from that, I mean, that's I put up a slide that I really want Lisa to speak to. Now, we know where the element pro comes from: people, role, and organization. Those 3 levels that Lisa mentioned. But this is also very much about fit, and it speaks to what Mark just said. If you want your organization to be more innovative, maybe that's a goal that you have, and maybe in our work, more creativity will float to the top as an aspirational goal for this team. That's possible. If we identify that, then it's the team's responsibility to make sure that everybody's safe in offering creativity. Because often creativity isn't a matter of getting creativity out of people, as it's not shutting it down when it appears. So people on a team that you want to be more innovative or more creative really need to pay attention to those very important elements of what does it take to make this a safe workspace? How do I respect this goal that we've all articulated so that I allow anybody to participate in it? That's, to me anyway, the magic of what we do. And Elisa, I know fitting in is a big part of the equation. So maybe you can speak to that half of the name.
Al, before Lisa does that, I thank you, Dr. J. I have to leave. I have another meeting at 2:30. So partners, love you guys, and I will talk to you later.
Mark, before you go, can you please share with our audience the best way for them to reach out to you if they can't read the banner or they're on the radio?
Sure. The best way is my email, mark.iorio is IORIO@getbcat.com. So that's GETBCAT.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, and my cell number is area code 609-577-4306. And I always pick that up.
He always picks up.
Thank you so much for being here today, Mark, and wishing you great success with this.
Thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
All right, I think we're going over to Lisa.
Yeah, we were talking about fit. I do want to just say that Mark's made the point about that this is not about the individual, and that is true in a sense. We're not asking anybody to say, okay, listen, I'm research oriented and I'm a technician, so now I've suddenly got to become a creative resource. Not at all. This is not about morphing into somebody who you're not. It's the starting point is identifying your best suit of who you are and what you can bring to the table in support of this role model, because a team is a living, changing entity unto itself. It's not fixed. You know, you change one member of the team and the whole team has changed. You change the leader of a team and the dynamic shift. So the point of ProFit is to have a role model that really is representative of the collective efforts and goals of the team, but not at the cost of them. Each individual on a team has to fit it, because, you know, there's that saying, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. It can on a team. If you have a personality or a skill set that doesn't fit the initiatives of that team, then there's going to be a problem. So we want to draw from individual propensities, predispositions, skills, desires in support of the team as its own entity. And that's where we craft this role model that gives everybody this goal point to say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. I mean, think about the difference between, let's say, M&M's and IBM, two very different companies, and neither one should look like the other. But the people who are going to support a technology initiative might have a different sense of the people who are going to support, you know, candy. So you have to find out where you fit in order that you, number one, can contribute in a productive way, and number two, like it. I mean, we can do things we don't like, but why do that? I mean, the day is much, much more enjoyable if we're happy with what we're doing. Further, we bring that home. And if we're happy at work, chances are we're going to bring that back home, which is a good thing. You know, life is circular, and we spend 40 plus hours at our job. It better be good, right?
Yeah. What if it's about 70 radio hours?
2 points. Lisa brought home 2 great points. One is work-life balance, which really, in a job that speaks to your soul and gives you the opportunity to aspire to be something more and invites you to participate in that in a way that gives you the freedom to do that. I mean, that's the magic of ProFit at work. And Lisa's exactly right. When you go home after a day like that, you don't feel like kicking the cat. You're not going to pick a fight with your partner. You're not going to go take it out on the kids. There's nothing that you'll go home tired. You might be a little weary because you work really hard that day, but you're a happy person. What we've learned, it's funny, and that gets us to another point that Lisa started to make. It's not happy people that become productive. It's actually productive people that become happy. When people feel as though the contributions they make are respected by their coworkers and appreciated by their management, by their leadership, they tend to give more of that. They want to give more of that because it's self-reinforcing. And so productivity really breeds happiness. And our job really with ProFit is to create them both, because they're two sides of the same coin. And I also want to say that most people try to solve this problem with events, and we're not that. Not that we're knocking that, but you might send your crew out for paintball, or you might send your crew out to fly drones, or you might send your crew out to learn how to make a pizza. And we're not saying that's a bad idea, but at the middle of everything you do, there's something that we identify in ProFit that you really need to make a 4-hour part of your next event about. And that really is it. So yeah, we had a great time sipping bourbon and going out to dinner, and we got to know each other. That socialization is important, but who are we when we're doing our best work on our best day? That's really what we do.
And very importantly, ProFit is all inclusive. Look, I mean, the problem with events is that sometimes they are exclusive, meaning a person with a disability can't go do paintball, or a person who's sober can't do bourbon drinking, or a person who may have dietary restrictions or religious preferences may not be able to participate. So they can be exclusive. And furthermore, some people just don't like the things that are intended for the whole team. Maybe you're not an athlete and you don't want to do a mud run, or you don't want to do tug of war, or maybe the company doesn't want to spend 10 grand on a big event, because some team building events can be extremely costly.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up. And I mentioned before, maybe it was a different show, I've sold meetings and events for decades. And there's so much that goes into an event. And even when you have an event, yeah, it's great that you have that kumbaya and that I got to know you a little bit better. Maybe I trust you a little bit more. But that doesn't mean that on the team we're all rowing in the same direction. It might just mean I'll give you a pass more than I would have before. But that doesn't mean that we're all on the same page, right?
That's right. And one could argue that if we're saying this is in 4 hours, this is an event, right? But the difference is, this is including everybody on the team, number one, and we're giving a set of tools that last. This is not a social gathering. This is social in the sense that we're all socializing and discussing and convening, but we're giving them insight they can't gain otherwise, and tools to help sustain whatever we determine, whatever we dig up. And then beyond that, between Al, Mark, and myself, we each have 30 years independently of coaching and consultative support in and around organizations, and we've run our own. So we remain accessible after the fact to maybe troubleshoot a problem that we dig up. Maybe we determine that this team really is fractured, or there are people here, we've got one real bad apple. How do we fix that? They may not be able to do that internally. So that really does give them an opportunity to say, hey, you guys have seen this before. How could we draw from your expertise, and how can you support us in an ongoing way? This is not, the event is episodic in that it occurs in 4 hours, but it's deep, and then we can structure support after the fact. So it's not intended to be like one and done, everybody hug, we found this information, here's our little charts and graphs, put them away on your desktop somewhere. This has to be something that's sustainable in an ongoing way.
And how do you actually facilitate or deliver the workshop? Is it in person? Is it over Zoom? How does it work?
It's a different experience in person versus Zoom. I mean, in person, it's funny. This happens on Zoom too. There's usually a few people who are very vocal, and depending on the age of the team. I mean, if a team's been together for a long time, they tend to hierarchically communicate. Somebody's the lead, somebody's the note taker, or whomever. But on Zoom, you'll find that somebody who's more comfortable in a video forum will speak up, and sometimes the stragglers come along. It's really the job of the moderator to make certain that everybody participates and has equal time. In person, of course, we get more information. We get to see attire and in complete stature, posture, independent of that individual's environment. And that can affect how they behave. So there are pluses and minuses to both. But the in person, there's a different energy of being in the room together. I mean, we have that magnetic pull of in-person energy. So I like that. But the reality is, in some instances, it can be delivered in Zoom, so long as everybody is willing to shut out the noise of distraction for that entire period of time and really attend. And I mean attend as in pay attention, participate, shut off their phone, which, for 4 hours, we can all live without a phone, right?
Ah, the power of listening, Lisa. There it is. People have to be fully present.
It's a fun experience too. I mean, it is a fun thing to participate in. People enjoy the incorporating question. They enjoy working with other people in their team to get the answer to that question. They really appreciate what they learn from each other. And so however we deliver it, whether it's via Zoom or in person, it's the kind of thing that people enjoy because it kind of draws them in. And it draws them into what they actually do for a living, although we never, ever directly talk about what they do, because that's kind of the third rail. What we don't want is to create turf issues among the people that participate. We concentrate on the role model that represents the best of all of us, and not on any particular skill set that might represent the best of one or two of us.
Right.
That's what makes it inclusive. That means everybody can play.
What's required before the workshop? Do you need any information to be shared by the various team members?
Yeah. 2 weeks in advance, everybody gets a survey. We call it a survey instrument. And what everybody does with the survey instrument is paint the picture of the role model for their team from their own point of view. So we get back a whole lot of data from a lot of people. And we tell everybody, work on this alone. Don't work on this with others. We want separate views of the answer to that question, who are we? And we get that all back. We gather that all up. And the second half of that survey is, now that you've pictured this role model, what are the most important factors that are hallmarks of this role model? Is it the way they dress? Is it the way they write? Is it the way they speak? Is it the people they associate themselves with? The first step is really the BCAT step, and that is, what is the heart of the team? And then the second step, the magic of, for me anyway, presence intelligence, is now how do we bring that character, that virtual role model, to life so that we can actually hear them and see them and read what they write? And that for me is the part that makes it all work.
Okay, so how do we go about signing up?
We have a phone number.
Okay.
212-480-3730. That's the number to call to start a conversation about ProFit. We have a website, pro-fit4teams.com. Lisa, do I have that right?
Yeah, and the numeral 4.
The number 4.
Lisa, can you put that in the chat, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. So we have a website that describes the process. We also have what I believe is some very significant kick-ass collateral that Lisa put together for us that really does nail what it does and how it works. We didn't, if you can bring up I'm going to add the slide to this, to the things that we can always count on Lisa to do is to nail the concept that we're trying to visually nail the concept that we're trying to put across. So if you can imagine that in the middle of a team that has a lot of people in it, there's a knot that binds them all together. ProFit is about identifying, creating that knot. What we do is try to find that little element that is the intersection of all of everybody's gifts.
Yeah, great
When
visual.
you do, the magic happens. And from a business owner's perspective, I've done some research about when there's turnover, the average cost of a turnover of an employee is about $15,000. It's a significant portion of salary. So when you think about taking 4 hours to get the most cohesive dimension of a team together, that will make them, number one, productive, which generates happiness and a sense of autonomy, which is all positive. The longer they stay together, the less likely they are to depart and take the company's secrets elsewhere. So when you think about a revenue loss by not taking the right steps to assemble teams correctly in advance, it's actually more costly to not do it. Because imagine if you have a team that falls apart and they go elsewhere, and the Great Resignation proved that there was a lot of dissatisfaction internally in organizations. I mean, people left their jobs. I read a study that said it had very little to do with compensation or benefits. It had to do with opportunities for growth and promotions and where their family could fit in. So it is wise to take these steps in advance to prevent turnover up the road, which costs a lot of money. And if money's going out the door, it certainly isn't going into the organization and keeping it sustainable.
So true.
Great points that you're making here. So I love what you're doing. I know, Al, you already sent me the information that I need to send out to our team, and I'm excited to get started with you because I like what you just said, Lisa. I feel like here, at least at USA Global TV and Radio, we have a great group of people. We've got a format, we've got a structure, we've got people plugged in to where they want to be. And I'd hate to start next year and have to start all over again. So this is a great time, I think, when people are coming into this part of the year to do this workshop. So I wish you all the the best, and I'm excited to partner with you and do it as well.
Thanks for the opportunity to present it, Dr. JACALYN. We appreciate your friendship and support really over the years. And we'll look forward to coming back every now and then and giving you an update.
Fantastic. Before we go, I'd love to have each of you on Spotlight and just give a shout out to the other television shows that you do, as well as to the work that you're doing in addition to Profit, if you'd like. I'd love to have you share that. We'll start with Lisa.
Oh, well, on Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock in the morning, bright and early, Mark and I co-host a show at RVN Television called Morning Coffee. And that's really a chit-chat show, more like Good Morning America. We talk about topics of the day and what's happening in the world or the weather. And then, which is a project that's very near and dear to my heart, is Al, Mark, and I are co-hosts of The Advocates. And that was a program that I dreamt about 15 years ago, where I wanted to spotlight good people doing good. And we meet up with some of the most profound individuals all across the world who are contributing something good to make the world a better place. We've met with authors, speakers, coaches, charity work, you name it, a very wide berth of people. But that project is positively delightful. And that's on Wednesdays at 10 a.m.
That's a great project. All that is on rvntelevision.com.
Right.
And so anybody who's watching here can just use rvntelevision.com to go learn more about that. And I also do on RVN Television a program on Fridays called CEO Chat, which focuses on people who are CEOs or people who have great stories to tell CEOs. And it's always a fun conversation. You never know what you're going to get. And more and more and more of those conversations are orienting themselves toward, how do I make my people happy? How do I speak to my people's hearts? And it's encouraging for me because we're getting less and less of, how do I save money? How do I save money on my taxes? We still get those, but the people we're getting more and more are, how do I make this a rewarding place to work? How do I make that? And that's fits right in with everything else we do.
And there you have it. You can find them both on rvntelevision.com. That's actually where I got my start too. So I'll always be grateful. And where I met the three of you. Mark's not here, but the three of you have had a lot of impact in my life. And I thank you for your friendship and your partnership.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Always
you.
a good time. Yep.
Totally.
All right, folks, we're going to sign off now. The next show is coming up. It's the men's show, Wild at Heart, Bonfire Talks, real, authentic, uncut. And today they're discussing men and nutrition, what you need to know. So please join us for that. And for now, Al, Lisa, and I are signing off. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Doc.